Today I'm going to demonstrate how to properly prepare a glass of absinthe, the green fairy, or as the French would say,
la fée verte,
for consumption. But first, a little background on this little-known liquor. Absinthe is a very potent, what I'm using today is 92 proof. That means 46% alcohol content. Anise or licorice flavored liquor derived from botanicals such as green anise, sweet fennel, and other medicinal and culinary herbs. True absinthe, which has been banned in the USA by the FDA since the early 1900s, also contains Artemisia absinthium, or grand wormwood. Absinthe gained popularity in the late 1800s and early 1900s amongst the Parisian artists and writers. It was claimed that Artemisia absinthium had a psychoactive drug and hallucinogenic effect upon the consumer, thus its popularity amongst such notables as Ernest Hemingway, James Joyce, Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, Pablo Picasso, Vincent van Gogh, Oscar Wilde, Marcel Proust, and Edgar Allan Poe. This still unproven side effect led the FDA to ban it in the USA, a ban still in effect today. This forced the absinthe industry to produce a wormwood-free version for sale in the US. True followers of this beverage shun the made-for-America version, claiming that it's like drinking coffee that is decaffeinated. And now to the proper preparation of a glass of absinthe. Along with the absinthe itself, you'll notice a couple other things on the table. One is a glass, it's called a bubble glass, and the other is the absinthe spoon. But of course, how could we make the green fairy without the green fairy? So she'll be here to oversee our operation and make sure this is done correctly. Now the one thing that is missing from this, if I were doing it properly, is an absinthe decanter. It's a crystal decanter that has 4 to 6 spigots on it, and the fact that the cheapest one I could find was $180 made me decide that I would just do something separate from that. First thing we do is, of course, uncork the absinthe, pour it into the bubble glass. When you fill the bubble, by filling the bubble you've applied just about exactly 1 ounce of absinthe. The next part of the procedure is to place the absinthe spoon on the glass. Then we place a sugar cube on the absinthe spoon underneath the spigot. Now this decanter that I've made up is filled with ice water. Ice water is required, and you open the spigot and slowly drip it onto the sugar cube to dissolve it into the absinthe. Ice water is used so that it will free the botanicals and the herbs from the alcohol, from being absorbed in the alcohol, turn them free, and this causes the absinthe to begin to fog up due to the release of these elements, and it forms what is called the louche. As you can see, it's getting denser and denser as the cold water goes into the glass. Now the proper dilution for a drink of this sort is anywhere from 1 to 3 or 1 to 5. That would be 1 ounce of absinthe to 3 ounces of water, which is the dilution that I've chosen here. If you like licorice flavor, then you want to go with 1 to 3 in order to get the full effect of the drink. If it's a little too much for you, you can always add more water, but you should never go beyond that 1 to 5, or you may as well just be drinking some very alcoholic water. We continue to let this drip until all of the sugar is dissolved.
Absinthe is not for the faint of heart, as it is 92 proof. It means that it is 46% alcohol content. Allow the water to continue to dissolve the sugar.
And we've got to get every last bit of that sugar cube in there. The sugar is actually in there to help cut the bitterness of the anise flavor, the licorice flavor, to give it a little bit of sweetness. You can use as much sugar as you want, but the standard is just 1 cube. Once the sugar is dissolved, you can remove the spoon and turn up the flow on your spigot until you get the proper dilution level based on your particular preference. In this case, we are going with the 1 to 3. Once to that level, you will shut it off. And voila! La Fée Verte, the Green Fairy. And I would highly suggest that if you're going to have one of these, that you either have a designated driver or plan on staying where you're consuming this beverage.